The video where a guy cuts his wiener off and removes his balls with a knife and hatchet is one of the most requested videos for me to cover. The BME Pain Olympics. Some say it's fake, some say it's real and the guy died, and all this confusion is understandable. Because you see, there's actually several things that have been called the BME Pain Olympics throughout the years. And because there's so many different stories and videos with different happenings, the truth about them has gotten pretty murky over the years. So for today's episode of Tales from the Internet, let's take a closer look at this CBT legend. BME Pain Olympics. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. You watch YouTube, you've heard of Raid Shadow Legends before. Raid Shadow Legends is a simple yet deceptively complex RPG with over 500 champions to select with different abilities. I've been playing it a bit and I finally got my best champion Zavia up to rank 6, which was a really big jump in power for my party, and I've been trying to get my soulbound bowyer up there too. They've just added champion fragments, which let you collect pieces of champions you can use to summon specific awesome champions, with special events running all the time. There's also a new bazaar, where you can load up on high value items with the gold bars you win in the tag arena. And they just extended daily login rewards to up to 270 days. Free champions available just for logging in. You can find me in-game under the name Wang, and if you want, join my clan. I'm going to kick out some inactive members to make some room for you guys. Go to the video description, click on the special links, and if you're a new player, you'll get 100,000 silver, plus 2 clan boss keys, plus 3 ancient shards, plus 1 free champion, Executioner. Really good champion to have early on in the game. All that treasure will be waiting for you right, there we go, right over there. Good luck, and I'll see you there. If you've ever gone online and looked up anything to do with tattoos, piercings, or body mods from the mid-90s on, chances are you came across a website called BME, the Body Modification E-Zine. This is one of, if not the first website dedicated entirely to body mods, and it was definitely the largest one. I remember coming across this website when I was a teenager looking for tattoo ideas and information about what to expect when I went to get my eyebrows pierced. Like, there was a period in time when I had like 2 eyebrows pierced, and 2 lip rings, and a ton of earrings. I have no pictures of that, but trust me. And I'm sure a lot of the millions of people who came across that website had a similar story. BME was created in 1994 by Canadian programmer Shannon Gerbes. The more I read about this guy while I was working on the video, the more I came to admire him. He's a guy who reminds me of people like Max Goldberg of YTMND, Soylent from Rotten.com, in the sense that he just really embodied this spirit of the early internet, a guy that's just gonna do whatever the fuck he feels like, censorship be damned. So Shannon developed an interest in body mods from a very young age. In an interview, he noted that this might have been influenced by his fascination with stories he heard from his neighbor growing up, who was a Blackfoot native. And as he's growing up, he teaches himself how to program, and by the age of 16, he's already working as a professional programmer. And while he's developing software for gambling websites and psychic hotlines, he's working on his passion project on the side, BME. And after he launches the site, he quickly dives in headfirst and makes it his full-time focus. As he put it in an interview with a college student that he shared on his blog, "I'd rather fail chasing my dreams than succeed as a slave." But he didn't fail. In fact, BME became massively successful. Much more successful than he had ever considered, becoming the online source for all things tattoos, piercings, and body mods. And some of the things featured on the site were very extreme mods that most people would never consider doing, but were interesting to look at and read about nonetheless. But like a lot of boundary pushing websites at the time, and you're probably expecting this if you've seen my channel before, but he got in a little bit of trouble with the law because of the website. There's a few cases of this, but to me the most interesting one is what happened with Germany. Germany goes on this spree where they're banning edgy websites because, you know, think of the children. BME is one of the websites, and he gets a notification that, hey, like, if you want your website to be viewed in Germany, you gotta make some changes. But of course, Shannon said fuck that, didn't change anything about his website, didn't censor anything, and went as far as to print a t-shirt to antagonize the German authorities, egging people on to wear it, which was technically illegal because it showed the website URL. And although many, probably most viewers of BME just kind of passed through to view the content and read the stories, there were those who stuck around, and a very strong sense of community began to form. As this tight-knit community grows, BME starts to have meetups, barbecues, and eventually a large annual event called BME Fest. And in 2002, at one of these barbecues, a new tradition began. The BME Pain Olympics. But this event I'm talking about in 2002 probably isn't what you're thinking about. Some of the games at this inaugural BME Pain Olympics included drinking hot sauce and carrying weight while suspended. And while these things can be painful and challenging, I'm sure they're a far cry from the images that came to your head when I said BME Pain Olympics. And some images from other Pain Olympics events are still viewable on the BME website. And they show stuff like needles being placed through the skin with sterile gloved hands. Once again, kinda rough. I probably wouldn't do it, but a far cry from what you think when you hear BME Pain Olympics. I mean, you definitely don't think of anything sterile at all. But you know what? Some of you might actually not have any idea what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm referencing all this, so allow me to describe the BME Pain Olympics video that everyone's thinking of. So when the video starts, the song Livin' Like a Zombie by the metal band Mortification plays as we're introduced to the first challenger, who's smacking a knife against his penis that's placed on a cutting board. Contestant 2 comes in and he's tying his balls up with a string. Contestant 1's back and now he's tying his whole penis up with a string and he places it back on the cutting board. Back to entrant 2, who's chopping away at his balls with a little hand axe now, while entrant 1 takes a knife to his dick and starts to slice it up. Entrant 2 keeps chopping away at his balls while entrant 1 sticks a knife in and individually pops out each testicle one by one. I said one by one like there's a whole bunch of them, but you know, there's just 2. And that's where the video ends and it never tells us who won. Although, speaking logically, the guy who cut his dick and balls off would have to win over the guy who just cut his balls off, right? It's unclear when this video was actually made, and several sources, like IMDb.com, say that it was made in 2002. But it can't possibly have been made in 2002 because the song that plays during it wasn't released until 2004. What I think happened here is that people read about the BME Pain Olympics happening at the barbecue, so they thought it was those BME Pain Olympics, and not, you know, the hot sauce drinking and suspension. And going by Google Trends and the dates on the massive amount of YouTube reaction videos, this video seems to have been made, or at the very least, first made its way around the internet in 2007. And of course, there were a shit ton of reaction videos done to this. I mean, we were only a few months removed from 2 Girls, 1 Cup, so of course everyone's gonna come in for part 2. At this point, you even had people like a pre-JRE Joe Rogan going in and making videos about it. And this legitimately was a rough video to watch. I mean, even looking back at it several times for making this video, I was kind of like, So when I would hear people saying that this thing was fake, I was like, there's no way. And here's where it gets a little confusing for a bit, because here's where you start seeing different people saying different things. Something that I saw come up a few times was that the BME Pain Olympics was done with hot dogs, and I'm like, no. Definitely not. But the reason some people think it was done with hot dogs is because there was a video and a Pain Olympics site that showed some guy sticking a hot dog through his fly and cutting it up and mangling it in all different ways. And the video was so low quality and so dark that at first you kinda can't tell that it's an Oscar Mayer wiener. And knowing that this was making its way around, I thought perhaps people thinking this Pain Olympics video was fake was just a case of people mixing up 2 different videos. But I'll give the final word on this to Shannon himself, who made an appearance in a Reddit thread in 2012 when someone made a post asking for an AMA of a Pain Olympics participant. I'm the person who created this video, as well as all the BME series of videos. Yes, the one called BME Pain Olympics is faked footage, and I would have thought that was obvious to anyone looking at it, but I guess not everyone has the encyclopedic knowledge of what it looks like when you chop up someone's genitals that I have. However, the various BME torture trailers and related videos are completely real and contain arguably more extreme footage. And reading this, I was a little taken aback because, you know, even if this was faked somehow, to me, it looked so real. Like, how could this be obviously fake, you know? So, of course, I went back and I watched the video several times. And each time with this knowledge in mind, it started to look a little bit more fake. I think part of the effect is that when you see something like this, your eyes are just trying to not focus so intently on it. But when you give it a close look, you notice things like, oh, there's like not really as much blood as you would expect here. And granted, sometimes gore in real life just doesn't look the way you would think. But on closer inspection, I think the dead giveaway is how the penis moves while it's being cut. It just doesn't seem to have the right density. He's cutting it in such a way that it should flop a little, but the penis doesn't flop. Once you take note of how it moves, it almost starts to resemble a lump of Play-Doh, and I imagine that if this thing was shot in 1080p, it would be way more obvious, as Shannon said. The theory had also been presented on the now deleted Pain Olympics Wikipedia entry that this was made of some real footage. The real footage belonging to BME users Arebly and Kokomi3K. I couldn't see Kokomi's content, but there was a picture of Arebly tying his balls off and shoving a nail through his testicles, so it seems to check out, and apparently his name has become synonymous with CBT, so it makes sense. In fact, it's said that at the end of this video, there was originally a notice that it was all fake, and it was part of BME's April Fool's tradition. Every year they would post some kind of fake article, including things like a couple from the community who bit each other's fingers off as a show of dedication, a UFO cult that built a new species of human, a guy who got plastic surgery to look like an alien, and one that I actually remember from back in the day about a pair of twins who got their body parts transplanted onto each other. That being said, in this post, Shannon also made reference to BME torture trailers which he said were real. And in fact, you can still find these trailers in the videos directory of his blog. Sometimes these videos would also make their way around to get labels like BME Pain Olympics for various years or various entry numbers. And the videos featured things like firecrackers in the urethra, batteries in the urethra, large vegetables shoved up the urethra. You get the gist of what these are like. And so all that being said, why the fuck would anybody do this? Shannon has an explanation. They're real-life Cenobites. They are explorers of nerve impulses. They are seeking the extremes of sensation, a far-out realm where pleasure and pain are all blurred. To simplify, they're doing it because they're getting off on it. There are other reasons too, but that's the main one, and the healthy one. A year after he spoke to Reddit in 2013, Shannon would pass away. He took his own life after dealing with years of chronic, constant pain from a genetic muscular condition. After his death, a blog post he had prepared was published. In the blog post, he details how the little treatment he did receive was ineffective. He struggled to get the pain management that he needed, and he felt that the reason was that because of his appearance, the doctors thought he was just looking for drugs. He also reflected on BME, the state of the body modification community at the time, and his hopes for it in the future. And he was sure to show appreciation for everything he accomplished and everyone who helped him along the way. He concluded by offering his ashes to friends who were aware of his situation and asked him previously about it, so that they can use them in art and their own personal body modification projects. He said that he loved the idea of living on in this way after his death. And really, he still lives on in so many other ways. It cannot be understated how influential he was in shaping the culture around us, creating a platform where millions of people learned about tattoos, piercings, and body mods. How it made so many people feel okay with it in a world where it wasn't as socially accepted as it is today. And how different the world looks because he was here. But anyway, that's all for now. If you like this video, you'll also enjoy my video on the Goatsy Man. I'm out of here.